Dylan Michael Vega, or the TikTok Fondler I've so appropriately labeled him, is an anarchist socialist man so deeply obsessed with becoming famous on the internet that he'd do absolutely anything for that attention. Going as far as claiming to watch cheese pizza or worse to quote-unquote troll the PDF catchers. However, after some comments made by none other than himself, you'll see many allegations he claims are false have some real weight to them. Born July 12th, 1999, raised in Florida and now living specifically in Daytona Beach, growing up he'd make various channels such as Vegamo9999 in 2012 and start off posting about the happenings of his life along with running the Dylan Vega Show.
And this is the Dylan Vega Show!
Which mainly consisted of nonsense, but nonetheless he'd seemingly have a lot of fun doing this. You could see in these early videos too, he'd be seemingly well adjusted, he had normal interests such as golfing, and his posts were all around wholesome. Just a kid having fun and hopeful for the future. Nothing stood out as a glaringly obvious red flag back then, aside from of course one video where he confessed that he was in fact a Democrat, some foreshadowing to his later political ramblings maybe. But unfortunately, despite his voice remaining the same, Dylan would change and become anything but a wholesome man. In recent years, you can find Dylan making all sorts of inflammatory statements on TikTok, things he'd have you believe are just jokes about him being a PDF file, none of which a sane person would ever believe to be funny. One such video, where he speaks with a little too much conviction, would be the first to catch my eye.
You see, when you fondle somebody, it's an expression of love. You are showing your affection for that somebody by fondling them. You are fondling the spirit of their soul in the physical realm of their body, of their skin. So when you fondle an individual, when you fondle a child, you are fondling the essence that you are grooming as the parent of that child in order to grow up to be a proper and decent adult in a civilized society. Do you understand the purpose of fondling, the reason behind fondling? Why fondling, the act of fondling, the concept of fondling is so important. You have to fondle children.
Now, by definition, fondling isn't always inappropriate by nature, but when you take it into context with all the other things he spouts about, it's incredibly worrisome.
Oh yes, I'm all about the CP. I love the CP. How did you know? Well, consent is merely a structural presence in the absence of thought. What I want to do is help children understand their thoughts. So you see, this is the only way we can obtain true consent. I can diddle with whoever I want. Deal with it.
Now, maybe, for example, if the fondling video was a joke made in poor taste that he apologized for, that would be one thing, but he is constantly bringing up people who are far too young to be talked about the way that he likes to talk about them. And on what planet would it ever be okay to constantly joke about something like that? For one, it's a terrible idea considering his aspirations of being a famous YouTuber or famous in general. I don't think I've heard of a single person who's grown a massive following just because they like to pretend that they're a PDF file or that they are a PDF file. And then even then, what is endgame? Why do you want to be known worldwide as a PDF file? This gives off like Uncle Gum's energy, for example. But for some reason, that seems to be exactly what he wants to be. He wants to be someone that confuses PDF file catchers and trolls them, in fact.
Okay, I think it's time I just start talking about pedophilia again. Every time I talk about pedophilia, the trolls get triggered and have something to joke about. So I'm an entertainer, and I entertain the trolls. I'm a troll myself, so I understand. I understand the psychology of the troll to understand the emotions and how to manipulate the emotions of the individual and for your own amusement. So, pedophilia is such a touchy subject, such a controversial subject for good reason that to joke about it would definitely provoke an emotional reaction and go viral. So I'm going to start talking about pedophilia again. Every time I do so, I go viral and gain a lot of attention. If I want to be famous, I'm going to be known as the guy that trolls the PDF hunters.
That smug smile at the end. But he'd have you believe that he's this master manipulator. He knows the psychology of the trolls. In fact, he's an incredible troll himself. He has all of us believing he's this crazy PDF file, when in fact, he's just doing it to troll and waste the time of real PDF file hunters. Though deep down, I don't think that's really the case. I think what's really happening here is he's setting up an easy out to point to this video and say, hey guys, all along I told you I was trolling. You can't possibly take anything that I've said, such as being incredibly familiar with cheese pizza or watching cheese pizza on the regular, as an admission of guilt or anything, because I've been trolling all along, I told you. Either way, if he's to be believed, joking about this sort of thing in order to gain views and traction is absolutely disgusting. And quite honestly, it's alarming that someone like him can have free, unsupervised access to the internet at all times. But unfortunately, as it would seem, him constantly talking about being a diddler, laughing about how no one's gonna catch him, isn't all he knows how to do when it comes to his degeneracies. So Dylan, like everyone who doesn't have a car, whether that be to grab groceries or just to head out on the town, maybe in the pursuit of women, walks everywhere. A store nearby that he happens to frequent would be where one particular 17-year-old girl would be working. And you see, with the age is just a number type of man Dylan is, you know, the type of man who likes to play a game of semantics when it comes to the age of consent, he'd set his eyes on this girl. Most likely after days of staring and walking by that same store before he could come in for the kill and make his approach in order to give this girl his phone number, as he says. He'd be intercepted though by this girl's father, likely after days or even weeks of this fella quote-unquote just glancing at her.
Done with my affair with that store. These people did nothing to me, but now they have done everything to me. Now there's a perfect justification for me to declare war on that store. I stumbled upon an accidental justification for this war that I have indirectly started with them. Well, really, they have started with me. I just want to give this woman my phone number, Jesus Christ. You know, remember the latest drama was that father that thought I was coming after his 17-year-old daughter that happens to work there too. Then when I walked by, I didn't even steal in the window. I just glanced over, just to double check. I'm just glancing there. I'm not staring. I'm doing my part to make peace, okay? I'm doing my part to make peace. They're the ones who are paranoid at this point. That's what's continuing. They're the ones continuing this, not me. I just want to give them my phone number and move on, Jesus Christ. They're the ones that is continuing with this war. And if they want to continue with this war, well, I'll bring the heat. Anywho. Now, because, he from his perspective, he thought I got away and just walked off and de-escalated and everything. So now he thinks I did it because I still want to come after his teen daughter. I have no idea who she is. And so now, every time when I walk by this evening, I just glanced over again at another woman, just another random woman. I just nodded at her to let her know that I knew it wasn't the woman that I actually want. And so then it wasn't even his daughter. But then he just started videotaping me through the window. I looked at him like, and then I continued walking and said, I'm not after your fucking daughter, bro. It's like, bro, now the guy, now there's fucking Randall father, it's waiting for me inside the store to make sure I don't come in to assault his daughter or something, come after it. I don't know what he thinks. I don't know what he thinks I'm gonna do in the store with his daughter. So this keeps continuing and continuing and continuing until the end of time. It never ends until I can give her my phone number. I'm probably gonna have a broken arm by then, but at least I give her it'll be worth it. At least I gave her my phone number, so.
And it would seem almost like he can't comprehend the fact that it's probably harassment that he keeps showing up to the store to try to give this girl his phone number. And then he backpedals, of course, saying, oh, well, it's not actually even the 17-year-old girl that I'm trying to give my number to. Totally. Which, come on, I don't even know why this guy's even trying to plead the case that he's not after the 17-year-old girl after everything he likes to say on this very same page. But he would continue to frequent the store in the search of this girl to give her his phone number.
Okay, you never believe it. Now we have fucking people waiting outside for me. This is getting out of hand, I walked by. I didn't even bother looking this time because I was actually heading to Publix. And then I walked back, and I happened to walk by as I was going home. And I saw there was nobody in the store. There was absolutely nobody in the store. I just glanced over unconsciously, just trying to see if she was walking. I don't know. Just looked in there. I still have to give her my phone number. That's what this is about. I just want to give her my phone number and be done with this. But yeah, they think I already did that because we broke silence button. Anywho, apparently, I guess a teenage girl was walking there or something. I was 17, and her father thought I was a predator or something was gonna prey on her. Anywho, all of a sudden some random middle-aged guy walked over wanting to kick my ass, saying, "You're coming after my dog, you're coming after my..." I don't even know what you're talking about. And I was just looking at him like deer in headlights, trying to figure out who the hell is this guy. I thought maybe, maybe it's the father of her, of the woman I actually want to give her my phone, or want to pursue, thinking of the overprotective father, I'm the future boyfriend or something. I want to kick my ass just by association. That's what I was thinking. I was trying to process what the hell is going on. And I was wondering, but then this guy looked too young to be her father. And I, what, you got the wrong. I'm not. What the? I think you have the wrong idea. Jumping to conclusions. Then all of a sudden he pushed me against the rack, and I picked myself up and walked away. I grabbed the soccer ball to put it back, and then of course some guy helped me out, saying, "Hey, to take him away from me and give me the opportunity to leave." And then he walked over and said, "She's 17, bro, and stay away from the shore." What the hell? Now you have fucking parents coming after me. Look, I just want to give her my phone number and be done with it. Jesus God, this is spreading. They have fucking guys waiting in the parking lot for my ass with a pickup truck and stuff. What the hell is this? Fucking ridiculous.
Of course, time and time again, Dylan hasn't learned and will show up at the store in order to harass this younger individual to try to give him his phone number, which I don't understand who he thinks he's fooling when he bounces in between both not knowing who this guy's daughter is and then saying he just needs to give her his phone number and be on about his day, but whatever. What this whole interaction is telling me that he's more than capable of making young girls uncomfortable in real life, uncomfortable enough to tell their fathers about him in order to be protected. All I know is that I'm thankful that her father happened to be there in order to keep him from whatever he was plotting. But now we know that this has evolved for who knows how long, from him saying depraved things about people too young just on the internet. Now he's approaching them in real life and not seeing the problem with it whatsoever. Now, the following is a post made in April of last year, and this girl being implied to be over the age of 18 it's still worrisome regardless, and that's because it puts on full display not only is he very capable of making girls around him extremely uncomfortable, but it again highlights the fact he can't imagine he could have done anything wrong in this situation, or comprehend that showing back up at the store where he made a female employee uncomfortable at and was promptly kicked out of is probably harassment. Why I believe everyone should boycott salty sea shirts in Daytona Beach. I've debated whether or not to share this, but after deep reflection and multiple unsettling experiences, I feel it's my responsibility to speak up not just for myself, but for anyone who believes in basic decency, fairness, and freedom of expression. A few weeks ago, I found myself caught in the rain near Salty Sea Shirts at the Ocean Walk shop. I went in seeking shelter, thinking I'd be welcome since I'd had friendly interactions with the owner, Travis, before. I genuinely thought we were on good terms. We'd talked, laughed, and even shared personal stories, so when I walked in that day, it wasn't with bad intentions. It was simply to wait out the weather and share a moment of conversation. That's when everything took a strange turn. Out of nowhere, I was asked to leave. Apparently, a female employee claimed I made her uncomfortable because of a joke I made. A joke that touched on a religious and philosophical interpretation of the 9/11 tragedy, which I framed in a way to challenge extremist thinking, not to glorify it. It was meant to spark thought, not offense. She disagreed with my perspective, and instead of simply having a conversation or asking for clarification, I was kicked out. I respected their request and left. Later, I came back. Only when I saw that the employee wasn't present. Travis himself said it was okay. We even started chatting like old times. But behind the scenes, he was apparently communicating with the mall security through an earpiece the whole time. Moments later, I was approached and told to leave again, this time under the pretense that I wasn't buying anything, I couldn't be there. Even though I had the impression I was welcome. The part that hurt the most wasn't being kicked out, it was seeing Travis laugh about it after. I thought we were friends. I thought there was mutual respect. Instead, I felt used, humiliated, and discarded. It didn't end there. While I was on the public sidewalk outside the store, just waiting for the train to pass, I was approached again by security and told I was still on the property. I moved only to be recorded from a distance by a security guard using a flashlight. He stood there, watching me, recording, and trying to intimidate me. I crossed the street to de-escalate, and when I looked back, he was still staring me down. 2 days later, I walked in again to say hi, and I wasn't banned. Nobody told me otherwise, but when I tried to talk to the same employee, she looked visibly upset, which upset me as well. I tried to smooth things over. I asked what was wrong. I wanted peace, but instead Travis came out of the storage room and charged at me saying, "No, stay, Dylan Vega," in a way that felt threatening, like he was trying to intimidate me by using my full name. After that, I stopped going in. I tried to say hi when I saw him, thinking maybe we could move on, but every time he gave me a threatening look, cracking his neck, tightening his lips, posturing like he wanted to fight me. When I left honest Google reviews about what happened, he threatened me with legal action for harassing his business. This isn't just about one person disliking a joke. This is about being publicly humiliated, targeted, intimidated, and silenced for expressing a religious or philosophical view. It's about a business treating someone like dirt because an employee had a personal grudge, and rather than mediate, the owner fanned the flames. Nobody deserves to be treated like this. Salty Sea-Shirts showed me that they don't care about treating people with dignity or respect. They care about appearances, control, and intimidation. I came in out of the rain and left in emotional pain, mocked, threatened, and made to feel like my presence was offensive. That's why I'm asking people, locals, tourists, and especially anyone who values civil rights and free speech to boycott Salty Sea-Shirts. There are plenty of other places in Daytona Beach where kindness, conversation, and humanity still exist. Stand up for people who've been humiliated and cast out for having a voice. Let's send a message that we don't tolerate intimidation and petty abuse of power, especially not from a business. So for one, we have him not understanding that him being asked on multiple occasions to leave is close enough to being banned from a location, and any sane person would have understood that it wouldn't have been a good idea to return after what happened. And then he can't possibly understand that despite what his intentions might have been with these stupid jokes he was making, people's perceptions of him were wildly different than what he was apparently trying to come across as. And when it comes to things like harassment, even if you're trying to be innocent enough, it's your effect on others that matters. It's not what your original intent was. Especially since after that whole altercation transpired where he was kicked out of the store originally, he returned and seeked out the female employee that he made uncomfortable. A reasonable person would have understood that that would have been wildly inappropriate, but no, Dylan Vega had to return to try to smooth things over. Now then he starts to try to create some sort of boycott campaign against this poor business because he had a bad time with them, despite the fact that the owner was completely within his rights to kick him out of the store for making his employees uncomfortable. And props to the boss for taking that matter seriously and protecting his employees. I'm sure there's plenty of bosses who would overlook something like that. Of course, too, someone like this, someone very similar to some other people that we've covered on this channel, has a very hard time keeping his apartment clean. So much of a hard time, in fact, that recently he was evicted from his apartment because of how bad and how dirty he let his apartment get.
Okay, unfortunately, my new landlord evicted me, or he didn't evict me, but gave me a 30-day notice because I didn't clean my apartment. You know, I met the specific demands, and the previous landlord said I had the easiest inspection, and I met all it was just the kitchen that needed to be repaired, but that wasn't a cleanliness issue. Anywho, he gave me a 30-day notice, I called him a fucking asshole, and then
Anyways, that's Dylan Vega for you fellas, the degenerate who likes to frequently talk about people under the age of 18 the way no grown man should on TikTok. Whether that really is rage bait or exactly how he truly feels is still up for a debate. However, I believe he's self-reported quite a lot on that front. A man who doesn't seem to quite understand or be able to identify when he starts dipping his toes into some harassment, and for certain someone who probably shouldn't have unsupervised internet access. But if you liked what you saw here today, don't forget to like up and hype up the video. It really does help, and maybe even subscribe if you enjoyed the video that much. I really do appreciate all those who made it all the way through, especially all my channel members. And if you need more background noise while you game or clean, I have a playlist of some of my longer videos up on screen if you'd like to watch. Anyways, later, grubbas.
I